Can I request everyone to say sadhu and give a start to the program?
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. एवं मे सुतं एकं समयं भगवा सावत्यं विहरति जेतवने अनाथपिण्डिकस्य आरामे अतको अन्यतरा देवता अभिक्खन्ताय रत्या अभिक्खन्तवन्नं केवलकपं जेतवनं उभहसित्वा येन भगवा तेनुपसङ्कमे उपसङ्कमित्वा भगवन्तं अभिवादित्वा एकमन्तं अट्टासि एकमन्तं हितो कोसा देवता भगवता सन्तिके इमं गातं अज्ञासी सत्याव्यो मट्टो डयमानो मत्तके सकाय दिट्टि प्रहाणाय सतु भिक्खु परिव्रजेति sadhu sadhu sadhu. I know that you don't understand that particular verse, me neither. Anyway, we can get the translation of that. What it simply says is, when the Blessed One was living in the city called Savatthi, in a monastery called Jetavana, which has been built by Anathapindikasa, one of the main supporters of the Buddha during his time. In the early hours of the morning or the late in the night, a divine being appears and pay respect to the Blessed One. And then he's saying, he's asking this question, or he's making this statement to the Blessed One. The statement he makes is, as if smitten by a sword, as if head were on fire, a bhikkhu should wander mindfully to abandon sensual lust. So that's what the divine being says. Then the Blessed One says, as if smitten by a sword, as if his head is on fire, a bhikkhu should wander mindfully to abandon the self-identity view. So it's only very few words of the two statements are different. The last words, two words of the divine being is sensual lust, and the three words in the Blessed One, instead of sensual lust, he is saying self-identity. So both have recognized, understood that they are practicing mindfulness to abandon something. But the divine being says it is the abundance of sensual lust. Blessed One says, no, not that. It is the abandoning the self-identity view. So we, in the last few discussions, few talks, we tried to understand the difference. We tried to make a reconciliation between the two statements. Why the Blessed One is making this statement and why the divine being is giving some other statement. And to understand that, if I may give a summary of what we have discussed in the past, the divine being knows that the entire universe is having just one objective, which is the optimization of the sensual pleasure. And this sensual pleasure is hugely fueled by, energized by the sensual desire. And the sensual desire is energized by sensual lust. So for sensuality, the bottommost layer or the most strongest layer, or the potential of rising sensuality is in the lust. So therefore, it's a very very great understanding by the divine being, because when we are in the sensuality, we absolutely have no clue what influences our sensuality. But this divine being has done something, has understood that sensuality is fueled by, in the final analysis, by the sensual lust. So therefore he sees the bhikkhus are running like headless chicken to avoid sensual lust. And the Blessed One says, and no, it is self-identity view. And then we try to understand how those who are in sensuality are coming to sensual lust. And in the analysis, what we understood was that when we do our walking and sitting practice, we completely come out of the sensuality, and we try to bring our attention to, instead of sensuality, we try to bring our attention to the matter, which is our walking, or the breath, which is also a matter. And when you try to do that, the first thing you realize is to what extent this sensual desire is dragging us from this matter. We won't be able to pay our attention to our breath, and it is very hard to pay our attention to the walking. Always we are challenged either by a sound which is more attractive than the observation of the breath or the walking, or by some thoughts which may be of many things, and they are more attractive than the useless breath and the observation of meaningless walking. And it may be something that you see, especially while walking, and things like that. So there, what you see is, although you are away from the sensuality, you see the strength of the sensual desire. And still, although you see this, when you discuss your practice with the teacher says, don't worry. And this is what the Blessed One wanted us to see, that although we try to come out of the sensuality, it is not easy. And when you come out of the sensuality, you are really attacked by your attachment to it. So you have come a long way simply because you are coming out of your house, out of your sensual world, and simply trying to practice. By trying to practice, you are able to see. But when you continue this, what happens is, because of your faith, or because of your energy, or because you see the friction that you have in the sensual world, so for one or the other reason, you continue your practice, although you don't get anything, although you are distracted and challenged and confused by the thoughts and sounds, and by the fact that you are not able to bring your attention to the object, you continue. And when you continue, one or the other, after some time, you may be able to observe your walking or observe your breath. And that day, you see that this is something which is very much possible. And then all your attention now goes from the sensual desire, and it lands on the object, observation of the object. You see every aspect of your walking. You see one in-breath in full, one out-breath in full. Now you are able to keep your attention to that for some time. And when this happens, if you still have the sensual lust, you will be liking this attention, or trying to maintain this attention than anything else. You are not worried very much about your work or your family or anything else that you have to do, you ensure that your practice goes on. And that happens because your entire craving channel has now changed to the object, changed to the practice, changed to the meditation. So this happens, although we don't clearly see, because you have some sort of sensual lust. You are so much attracted by it. So although it is not a sensual object, although the walking is a spiritual object, your attention is showing that there is some risk of being attracted to now by the spirituality. And that happens because of the sensual lust. And therefore, there is a danger here. To come out of that danger, Blessed One, when he introduced his teaching, what he said was, don't just be mindful. Keep the mindfulness to the fore. Just being mindfulness is not sufficient, because there will have instances that you will be really challenged and you will get hooked up in your practice itself. Buddha has seen that before he became Buddha, he went to all the well-known teachers that were there during the period of his practice, during the period of the contemporary teachers. He was able to see, and he practiced with them. And after practicing with them, what only thing he realized was everyone is hooked up for their achievement. Then Buddha told them, my endeavor is to find the truth. My endeavor is to come out of the complete misery. So therefore, thank you very much for teaching what you know, but I'm looking for something. I'm trying to find the truth. And he went away. And he did the same thing, but slightly changing the approach. The approach he changed was, he brought the mindfulness to the driving seat instead of the object. Before the Blessed One, the object was more important than the awareness. But Blessed One gave more prominence to, more significance to awareness, no matter what happens to the object. And that gave him that unbelievable knowledge, and it opened his mind to the continuing practice, continuing mindfulness. And therefore he said, by keeping the mindfulness to the fore, you not only become mindful, you also start having the opportunity to continue your mindfulness with the changing object. And he gave a name for it. That name is called Sampajanya. So it is mindfulness leading to Sampajanya, which is translated as full awareness or the clear comprehension. So I like the word full awareness than the clear comprehension. And we discussed in the last session about this full awareness. And there are 4 types. Full awareness of the purpose. When you keep on practicing, if you want to change the practice, or if you want to stop the practice and go for something else, and you see the purpose, to what extent that new thing that you are going to do will affect your practice. If it is something which dilutes your practice, then you avoid that. And then even if it is something that does not dilute your practice, then you see whether it's suitable, whether it provides you more satisfactory conditions or less satisfactory conditions. And if it is less satisfactory conditions, you may select that you should not go for that particular thing. So this is considered, or this will be naturally coming to the practitioner when he is practicing. He will decide either to do something or not based on these two factors, the purpose and its suitability. And they are called Sattaka Sampajanya, Sappaya Sampajanya. So, but these two are mainly very important for the concentration type practitioner. But whereas insight sort of practitioner, these two are not very important. And in his practice, the next two awareness, full awarenesses are very important. The next two are called Gochara Sampajanya and Asammoha Sampajanya. Gochara Sampajanya means that particular mindfulness or that particular change in object, right? You become mindful to that as well, irrespective of the changing of the object. So why it is called Gochara is because you don't try to see its suitability. You don't try to see the purpose, because we can't live in the world like that all the time. So if you are a good practitioner, you should be able to make yourself suitable, make yourself available for any condition, because they are not under our control. So you ensure that wherever you go, it is a place for you to be mindful. So therefore, we call it full awareness of resort. So you take that particular place as a place where you will be able to rest. You will not get unnecessarily distracted. Whatever happens, you just become mindful. And when that mindfulness takes its charge, then what happens is you learn the art of being mindful under any circumstances. No matter whether it's suitable, no matter what the purpose is, no matter whether it's good or bad, no matter whether it's sad or happy, and you don't care. You don't care whether it is at least skillful or unskillful. You don't care whether it is wholesome or unwholesome. You simply become mindful of whatever that is happening. So when that happens, when your attention and when your awareness is taking that sort of a charge, you call it Asammoha Sampajanya. In other words, full awareness of non-delusion. So you are not deluded, you are not confused, you are not challenged by the change of either the physical object externally, either the attraction of internal physical object, or by the change in your mental processes. You don't give a damn. You simply be aware of all these things. So when that happens, it is when non-deluded attention, non-deluded full awareness takes place. It is a very energized state. In that energized state, it keeps going. As soon as you wake up, you feel that you are 100% mindful. Whatever you do, you feel that you are mindful and that you are with yourself. And when that happens, it is rather than calling mindfulness and full awareness or mindfulness and clear comprehension, now it is becoming clear comprehension supported by mindfulness, which we call Sampajano Satima. So when this Sampajano Satima happens, since you don't select, since you become simply aware of whatever comes, then you are able to very clearly see how our physical and mental processes work. So when you are having this non-deluded mindfulness, that is now taking you away from the sensual lust. how it takes away from the sensual lust is you see the sensuality arises. You see the sensual desire arises. You see the ill will arises. You see sloth and torpor arises, and you see agitation and worry arises. You see doubts are arising. You see all these hindrances are arising. And when you see these things are arising, and since you are not confused, since you don't think what is happening here to me, I am supposed to be mindful with the object, but instead of some other nonsense is going in my head, you don't think like that. You are simply a person who is observing only. You don't make any judgment. You don't pass any decisions, right? Because of this choiceless awareness, all these things are happening. You are not becoming a part of it. So that situation is called Dhammanupassana. In other words, seeing the mental qualities. These are the qualities that we have in our mind. What we have in our mind, all unwholesome things we have in our mind, because our mind, physical process and mental process, is made of unwholesome states, unwholesome things. So we see unwholesome things, and previously we did not see them. Now we have the ability to see them, because now we have dug the tunnel to see it. We have gone from the form, and whatever that comes our way, we have been mindful. So as a result, now you see the real energy, real influencer that influences our physical and mental process. So therefore, when you see that, the Blessed One says in Dhammanupassana, or in seeing the mental qualities as mental qualities, the Blessed One says, when sense desire is present, a monk knows there is sense desire in me. That's the only thing he knows. He doesn't get confused. He's non-deluded. Sense desire is there. He accepts. Yes, I have sense desire. That's all. Because I'm made of such sensuality in the past. So what can arise within me is only sense desire, and he's not trying to make a palace out of it. He's not trying to make things out of it. He's not trying to get hooked onto it. He does not become a victim to sense desire, but he's simply aware that the sense desire is present. And when sense desire is not present, then he is aware that sense desire is not present in me. So that is also because of simple choiceless awareness. And also Blessed One says, he knows how the arising of non-arisen sense desire comes to be. And he's simply observing the food, simply observing the breath. And all of a sudden, as if a cloud is coming to cover the moon, slowly a sense desire is coming. And he is not bothered, he's simply seeing how it is coming. He's seeing the arising of the unarisen sense desire. Still he is undisturbed. He simply observes. It's a mental quality. And he knows the abandoning of the arisen sense desire. And that cloud that came, it covered the moon, but it just keep passing slowly, and you are simply observing. And likewise, the sense desire that came, you saw it has arisen and it comes to a climax, and then it gradually passes away. You simply keep observing, and you see it is arisen. Sense desire is slowly getting faded away, and you observe that as well. So he knows how non-arising in the future of the abundant sense desire. That particular sense desire, since he was observing, it is abundant, completely abundant, and that sense desire will not come once again. Something else might come, but that particular one that passed away will never come back. So he is observing all this. It is not only for sense desire. The Blessed One says for all the hindrances. The other hindrances are ill will, sloth and torpor, agitation and remorse, and doubts. All these will come, will be there, and he will be simply aware when it is there. It will pass away. He will be aware passing away. He will see unarisen one arising. He will be aware. He will see the abandoning, and he will see that it gets completely abandoned. How can he see that? Because he's now, because of the observation capability he has, he is not anymore creating sensual lust to what he has achieved. He is simply an observer. And as a result, he is not identifying himself with anything. Maybe sense desire, maybe lack of sense desire, maybe arising of sense desire, maybe abandoning of sense desire, maybe complete abundance of sense desire. He doesn't identify himself with any of these scenarios. Or not only for sense desire, for any other hindrance, he doesn't identify himself with. As a result, what happens is he is gradually now depreciating what? Depreciating the, abandoning the self-identity. What we do is, when the practice is developing, before Buddha, they identified themselves with these things. Because they get sense desire, while practicing at home, they will have to go to the jungle, they will have to go to the thick forest, they will have to go to Himalayas to escape from sense desire. But Buddha said, I'm not asking you guys to go to such extreme. You can't avoid sense desire in that manner. You will have to live close to people so that you can go on your begging ground and have your food. But you should be having a technique to handle your sense desire, to and therefore handle the sense lust, sensual lust. And that technique is keeping the mindfulness to the fore and developing it to a stage where it takes its own charge, and then you will become a complete observer. And that complete observer will simply be observing and don't identify yourself with anything. So that is the abandoning of sense. That's the abandoning of self-identity. So Blessed One says, not only in the clinging, or rather, not only in the hindrances, you get rid of self-identity. You get rid of self-identity even in the clinging aggregates. Usually, when you are out of the hindrances, you will be identifying yourself with the aggregates. What are the aggregates? We have two main types of aggregates. The two types are form, name, and form. Name means the mental process. Form means the physical process. So, since you are practicing, when you don't have hindrances anymore, you will be trying to have your attention all the time to the walking, all the time to the breath, right? So that is because you can keep the hindrances at bay. But now what happens is, you are not keeping the hindrances at bay. Hindrances are arising and passing away and you don't bother. And if you feel that this is, very nonsense and I should have my attention all the time with the breath, or all the time with walking, then Buddha says, now you are trying to identify yourself with the aggregates. You are trying to identify yourself with the breath or with the walking. So which is called self-identity with the material form. And therefore they call clinging. When you identify yourself with matter, you call it clinging with the form. Therefore, they are called clinging aggregates, accumulation of things. right? So even here, the Blessed One says, you will have to keep the mindfulness to the fore, and you will have to have the non-deluded mindfulness, unconfused mindfulness. So therefore, when you observe the matter will change. The breath, the gross breath that you are observing will become subtle. It will become subtlest. It will come to the finest form, and it will come to a stage you are observing, but there is no breath to observe. And the Blessed One says, don't worry, still keep observing. If you still keep observing, now you are observing nothing, which means you are not trying to identify yourself with the form that you are observing. It may be walking, it may be breath. It is easier to explain in breath, so that is why I took that example. Not that it is not happening in walk. Sometimes while walking, maybe you will not be able to walk properly. You may feel that you are walking like a drunk person, or your foot goes and lands in a place that you don't want to land. It goes and finds its own place to land. That is because you are not identifying yourself with walking. And those things you can't very clearly see. But since you continuously practice, those things naturally happen. And that is why we need the observation to be in front, observation to be in the driving seat. So when that happens, if you are able to simply keep on observing like that, accepting the change in the matter, maybe walking or sitting or in your day-to-day activities, then he says you will develop, even when you come to these clinging aggregates, you will see the rising of the material form, and you observe that it is arising. That's all. The breath was not there, but all of a sudden, slowly breath is appearing, and you will simply observe. And when you keep on observing it for some time, again you will see it gradually becoming subtler, fades away. You don't give a damn, you simply keep observing. So what happens is there, you don't try to identify yourself with matter as well now. And it is not only this matter, when it comes to name, which is mental process. In the mental process, we have 4 other important aspects, which we call feelings and perceptions, mental volitions or fabrications, and the consciousness. And when you are away from the form, any of these things or combinations of these mental processes will appear. Even then, what you do is, those are also clinging aggregates. We will try to cling on to those. When the matter is not there, we may try to cling on to the mental process. And you will ask, why am I getting so much thought? I don't have breath. I don't feel breath, but I have so much of thoughts. But I have so much of pain, or I feel so much rapture in me, or I feel so much elated. So which means now you see either positive or negative mental processes. Blessed One says, when you don't identify yourself with them as well, when your mindfulness is non-deluded even here, and of course when you pass mental form and you have such a quality mindfulness, you will be able to simply observe. Thus is the arising of feeling, thus is the arising of perception, thus is the arising of mental fabrications, and thus is the arising of consciousness. You will be able to see. And similarly, you will be simply observing, undeterred with anything, the disappearance as well of the form. When you observe the pleasant feeling and it will simply vanish away, you observe that. When you observe the unpleasant feeling, you keep observing and then it vanishes. So like that, you will develop, because of your non-deluded mindfulness, you will develop only to see arising and disappearance of the matter or the name, which is the mental process. So that again, abandoning of self-identity happens because of keeping the mindfulness to the fore. And it is not only that. Now you see, we think that when our practice develops, that we will be completely pure. I will have any sense desire, I will not have any ill will, I will not have any hindrances, and I will not be hooked onto any material form. I will not be affected by any thought. I will not be affected by any pain. This is what we think when we practice mindfulness. But is that what is happening? It is not what is happening, but those same thing that were there even when we started the practice are there even now. But now you have an ability to just escape them. You have the ability to signal left and then turn right. You are not affected by the hindrances, or you are not affected by the clinging aggregates that may be there. They are there, but you are not part of it. So nothing has changed. The world runs the way it runs, and our mind also runs the way it used to run. But now you have simply quietly moved away mentally from those things. You don't identify yourself with them. So therefore, they are not something that you will question about. They are not something that you talk about all the time. Otherwise, what happens is, if we have a problem, we identify ourselves with that problem. For each and everybody, each and every person that we meet, we say, oh, see, I have this and this happened to me, that happened to me, and it becomes a problem. And that is because you identify yourself. And similarly, if you achieve something and you keep on telling that to each and every person, and you can see, especially in Australia, if something is there and they have huge voice modulation, so much of facial expressions to explain what they have, maybe pleasant or unpleasant, they identify themselves with it. But here, Blessed One is teaching the technique. You just go on the one way road, but you go on the wrong direction without making any accident with anybody. Everybody else is going, entire world is going one way, but we go in the other direction, but no accidents. You can do that only when you have um, faded, to some extent abandoned your self-identity. And Blessed One says, even in dealing with the ordinary world, you will be able to see this non-diluted mind. So he says, when it comes to our sense basis, it's exactly the same thing that happens. This is how he says. A monk knows the eye and visual forms. Because you are mindful, when you see something, you know that my eye is active now. And that eye is active, and that eye has taken that particular woman. We know that. Not that it is not happening. We think when we practice, when our practice develops, we will not look at things like that. No, it is not what is happening. It happens, and you are aware. So it's under control. You know, we are living in the poison world. So when you live in the poison world, you have your safety gear. Those days, you remember, especially those who are working in the health sector, during Corona, they are given a safety gear. So they can go to patients and treat them. Similarly, the Blessed One is giving us this safety gear. You will have to wear that. And the safety gear we have is non-diluted mindfulness. Because we have non-diluted mindfulness, our eye is playing health. Not me. It is eye's job. I am not involved in it. And not only eye is playing, seeing the form, The Blessed One says the theta that arises depending on both eye and form, also you can see. When your eye sees something that you like, it is not necessary for me to tell what goes in your mind. Especially when a man sees a woman, beautiful woman, or when a woman sees a handsome man. And these things are naturally happening. And especially it is very obvious in the case of men, because they will have to, because their vision range is a little bit restricted to compared to women. Men's visual range is restricted. You can see about, I don't know exactly, less than 180 degrees. If I'm right, I may be wrong. But women can see more. So therefore, they can enjoy whatever they see without turning their head. But men, they will have to turn the head. Then they get caught. So it does not mean that women just, when they just keep walking straight, they are not affected. They are affected, but their visual range is such that other people don't know that they are affected by it. So anyway, what I want to tell you is the practitioner doesn't turn his head. He knows my eye is active now. He just goes and he knows, because of seeing that so many thoughts are coming and so many physical changes are happening, and all that he is aware. Not that the fetters are not arising. Fetters are arising because you have seen. And also he knows how arising of non-noticent fetter comes. And you just saw it, and there was no fetter. And because the first fetter started, and another one starts on that. But you may simply think, oh, that's a beautiful thing. And then when you say that it's a beautiful thing, then you feel going and touching it. And then you feel going and buying it. Then you feel you going and buying it and taking it home. And not only for you, you want to buy it for your friends and families as well. You know, those thoughts may go on. One feta after the other, one feta after the other. You simply keep on observing he knows how the rising of non-nourishing feta comes to be. And not only that, he knows how the abandoning of arisen feta comes to be or gets abandoned, because he's simply observing. Since he's simply observing, whatever arisen, he can see that it is getting abandoned. And also he knows non-arising in the future abundant feta, because he's simply observing, and he observes until such time it completely fades away. So that particular feta will not come back. Something else might come. That's a different story. So in this manner, because you have non-deluded mindfulness, not that you become a complete new person. Inside, it's the same process that is taking place, but you are not identifying yourself. You are simply a camera. You are simply recording. You are simply observing. You don't at least identify yourself even with the recording. So this not only happens to the eye and the form, it happens to the ear and the sound as well, nose and the smell as well, tongue and the taste as well, body and the tactile sensations as well, mind and the mind objects as well. So many things will come, and you simply allow them to come, and then by themselves they will go away. So people, when the thoughts are coming for the practitioners, it's a big, huge problem. $1 trillion question for the practitioner. Why thoughts are? The Blessed One says, if you have non-deluded mindfulness, let them come and you just simply be aware of it. So if you identify yourself with the thoughts that are coming, then it's a problem. Initially it will be, and therefore you talk to your teacher. You present your report. Then teacher sees what is going on with your practice, and he gives you the right advice to improve your non-deluded mindfulness. And then you will come to a point that you will simply an observer like a zombie. And that is a heightened level of practice. When this heightened level of practice, in the teaching, the Blessed One is giving a separate name for it. And that name is called factor for awakening. There are 7 factors for the awakening, which are compulsory. So because of this non-deluded mindfulness, this particular factor, factor for awakening, what factor for awakening? Mindfulness as a factor for awakening arises. We call it Sati Sambojjhanga. Sati Sambojjhanga arises because you are abandoning self-identity. And when you abandon self-identity, what you are simply challenging is the dependent origination. Especially when you see the eye is hitting a form, something that you can see. If you don't observe, you will be completely governed by dependent origination. Then with that eye, contact of the eye and the visual object will lead to arising of eye consciousness. And that eye consciousness will complete the seeing. Once the seeing is completed, then fetters will start. And you keep on making fetters, and you get hooked up in fetters, and you go and talk to her, and then becomes a friend, and then becomes a girlfriend, and then becomes a partner, and then becomes a wife, and then becomes a grandfather, and then you have grandchildren, and all that will goes on just from one thing, because I had that visual object. And the dependent origination has taken you such a long way. But if you are an observer, dependent origination is cracked. Dependent origination is challenged. Dependent origination is attacked. So you are not any longer governed by dependent origination. Since you become away from what is happening, you simply become an observer. So the machine is working. Eye sees the visual object, and these fetters are arising. Machine is working. Although the machine is working, it does not have the ingredient to make it a final product. That main ingredient that makes it a final product is your delusion. Now you have a non-deluded mind. You see things happen and you simply are out of it. You are seeing. Seeing means non-deluded. You are not confused. Not confused means you are not deluded. So your delusion is reducing. Since the delusion is reducing, you are not hooked up in it, and then dependent origination is shattered. To some extent, now you are out of dependent origination. So this is what is happening when the mindfulness becomes a factor for awakening. So therefore, in the definition of mindfulness as a factor for awakening, the Blessed One says in the discourse for breathing, mindfulness of breathing, the Blessed One says like this: on whatever occasion the monk remains focused on the body or feeling or mind or mental qualities, in and of itself, ardent, alert, mindful, putting aside greed and stress with reference to the world, on that occasion, his mindfulness is steady and without lapse. When his mindfulness is steady and without lapse, the mindfulness as a factor for awakening becomes aroused. So that is what we have been discussing. It goes anywhere. It may be body, it may be feelings, it may be mind, it may be mental qualities. You are ardent, you simply observe, steadily observe. You are not affected by anything, any greed or hatred. that happens in the world. So when you have that discipline, that discourse is giving the definition, you have a steady mindfulness, and your mindfulness is not having any lapse. Which means not that you will have 100% mindfulness all the time. You may lose mindfulness. And when you lose mindfulness, the beauty is you know that you are losing mindfulness as well. That fact that you are not aware will not come into picture. Although you lose mindfulness, you don't identify yourself with the loss of mindfulness. What happens is when we practice our mindfulness, when mindfulness becomes heightened, people identify themselves now with the mindfulness. And when the identity simply fades away, even the lack of mindfulness, who cares? Okay, it was not there, and I made that horrible mistake. Doesn't matter. Next time, we will see what happens. So it's not identity, is not bothered, not affected. So when that such situation comes, it's a mindfulness as a factor for awakening. Now he is awakened. Now he is non-deluded and becomes aroused, and he says he develops it, and for him it goes to the culmination. And because of this factor for mindfulness as a factor for mindfulness, then all other factors, one after the other arise. So I'm not going to take all the other factors that are there in the factors for awakening. So hopefully we will take that in a future discussion so that you will be able to get an understanding of what that is. So what happens is this mindfulness as a factor for awakening is the reason to develop the other 6 factors that are necessary for awakening. So therefore, it is imperative that we keep the mindfulness to the fore. When we keep the mindfulness to the fore, it will take its own charge and take you to non-deluded mindfulness. And that non-deluded mindfulness will give you a steady mindfulness without a lapse. And that becomes a factor for awakening. So this is the Buddha's path. And how it comes is, as Buddha says, bhikkhus are not practicing like headless chicken, or as if their head is on fire, or as a sword smitten. They are practicing not to abandon sensual lust, but they are gradually learning the art of abandoning the self-identity. So when you abandon the self-identity, you will see everything as you have observed in the Dhammanupassana, in other words, mental qualities chapter of the 4 foundations of mindfulness. All what you see is arising and passing away, arising and passing away, arising and passing away. You simply keep observing that. And when you observe arising and passing away, you may feel that your body is completely, so far as the body is concerned, you may feel that the body is not steady as I was thinking. You may feel that it is like a beehive. You may feel that it is like a shattered object. It is not a solid thing. It always regeneration and degeneration, regeneration and degeneration. Although your mind, you may feel that your mind is completely anxious. There is no settlement in the mind. That is because now you are seeing arising and passing away both physical and mental factors, physical and mental factors. So when you see this, because of the non-deluded mindfulness, because of the awakening mindfulness as an awakening factor, now you are equipped to see this. Maybe initially you will go and see a doctor because you don't know what is happening, and doctors will put all the gadgets and say, no, you are not going to die in the next few hours, or you are not going to die in the next 5 years. When I had such a situation, I went thrice to the doctor. And the 3rd time, the doctor said, don't worry, you will not die in the next 5 years. And then after that, I said, okay, I thought this is something that is happening because of my practice. After that, I didn't see any doctor, and it continued like that. And then I gradually realized it is from the practice. And I was talking to teachers, and they were telling me, they were explaining me what is going on. And then I was able to get used to that situation of unsettled body, which is always changing, arising and passing away, arising and passing away, and similarly unsettled mind. And when you accept that unsettled situation, that itself becomes settled. That itself takes away all your that final reaction, mental reaction that you have. So when that happens, it is not just observation. When you see that arising and passing away, and when you are not affected by it, and when you happily accept that situation, it is a huge knowledge. We call it jnana. It's something that you will not be able to get by getting any PhD. You get all the PhD by observing outside. But this knowledge is first-hand knowledge of the matter, physical process and mental process of the universe. So therefore, the Blessed One says, if one sees that it's a phenomena, and if you see that phenomena, and if you are not confused with it, and if you are not doubting it, and if you happily accept that, and if you are happy with what is happening, because some people may not be happy because they will be having some defilements, and they will be having some self-identity. And if you have some defilement, some self-identity, then it won't become a knowledge. But if you are happily accepting, and if you know that it is from the practice, then you will be at ease. And the Blessed One says your practice from there onwards will be viveka nissitang, viraga nissitang, vossarga parinaming, which means you will do it very happily, in very peaceful manner. Viraga nissitang means without any lust to this state. It's such a soothing state, but you have no lust for that as well. And then Vassagga Parinaming means you have received the gift of the Buddha now. You will have to simply do is continue that practice, keep observing that, and you will go to greater heights. So may you all be able to get to that greater height and reap the benefit of this very rare teaching of the Lord Buddha. Blessings of the Tripurja.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Good. So that's the talk today. Anything to discuss, either from the talk or from your practice or anything else relating to them?
Yes, I've got something, Bhante. So it's my meditation. It's not about the talk. Sorry. On Saturday night, I finished work as normal, came home, had a shower, sat down, did my meditation as per normal. When I did my meditation, I started just like I normally do, but this time what I did is I was focusing on my breath, obviously just at the tip here, just the cool air coming in, warm air coming out. I kind of had this feeling that the cool air coming in and the warm air coming out comes from different tubes, but I might have gone crazy there. But anyway, what I was doing was just paying attention to this breath for a while. And then what happened was, it was like I didn't label the breath. I didn't put any thought into it. I was just like, almost like a third person looking at me, like looking at the breath operating. I did that for a while. And then what happened was, it was like I became the breath, and my breath kind of like, I didn't feel it change, but it just felt like I was part of the breath. And then what started happening was, imagine like a steering wheel, going in anti-clockwise direction. So when I was breathing in, it was going down, and then as I was breathing out, it was sort of like coming back up, like doing this sort of process. And I think what I've done is I took my attention away from the breath and then started paying attention to this going up and down kind of, motion. What happened from there was that feeling that I got, that I explained to you last year, and throughout the year occasionally, that feeling from the base of my spine. It was sort of when I was breathing in, it was coming down, and then as I was breathing out, it was coming up, and it came up through my back. It sort of stopped in the middle here, and then I took another couple of breaths, and then I had it come up to the back of my head, just here. And it kind of felt like if you were to have a cold shiver, but it was warm in this area here. And I felt that, and I was trying really hard to just be aware of it without, losing my equanimity, I suppose you could say. Like I was trying to have a balance of thought, because it was obviously a very powerful feeling, but like your previous explanations and things you've told me, I really put into practice this time. And I thought, okay, just be mindful of it, Steve. You're not going to die. Nothing's going to happen. Just be aware of it. So I managed to get it at the top of here, Bhante, and it was amazing. I had a big smile on my face, and I felt I felt ecstatic. But then what happened is it was like imagine someone holding a tennis ball and just letting it go. And this just went straight back down again. And then I've sort of, in a way, recollected myself and tried to bring it back up again. And then I had to stop my meditation. Please don't be disappointed. But I had to stop, because the second time when I was trying to bring it back up, when it fell down, it was just overwhelmingly crazy. Like it was just too much. Like the first time I managed to get it up and move it up to the top. And then when it dropped down, I couldn't get it back up. And then when it started, like the sensation started at the base, I had to stop, because it was just too intense. And then I've stopped, and obviously leaning back and stuff, and I started tearing in my eyes, and that's where it sort of ended up. So my question to you is that thing that I got up here, amazing feeling that it was, when it fell back down, was that me losing the balance of like my thought or like my mindfulness? What happened that I lost where I was at, or is that just in my head? Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah, it makes very much sense. What happens is these things happen when you provide the necessary conducive conditions. And those conducive conditions will have some what do you call it? Some age, some. I mean, it won't last forever.
Yeah.
Right. It's like say you buy a ticket for 3 hours for something, and you can't stay for 6 hours.
Yeah. Okay.
After 3 hours, you will have to get out. So it's something like that. You have provided conditions to bring it up to such state.
Yeah.
And after that, when that energy is lost and it drops down. And again, if you provide the conditions, it will come up. But throughout your explanation, I was carefully listening. Although your practice was automatic, but your explanation was active, not passive. What was happening for me for that to happen, you should be a passive observer. So when you are a passive observer, these things are happening. But your mind is not trying to let you make it passive. Mind is making you to express in an active manner. So you were saying, I was trying to do this, I was doing this, I was doing this, I was doing this. So it is not you, it is your mind suggestion. Or the what do you call weakness of the language. Our language is not not rich enough to explain these things. So
No.
irrespective,
There's no
Yeah.
language.
yeah, irrespective of whatever it is, the path is right. So now what you will have to do is, so I feel that you are letting things happen. And when you explain also, you explain in the same way, in a passive manner. Right? So then you develop the right view for what is happening. So you
Yeah.
don't, in the last one, you very clearly said you were trying to bring it up.
Yeah.
You try to bring it up, when the self-identity comes, it never comes up. It becomes so difficult, so tough, so painful, so friction, so
Yeah.
much friction. And
Yeah.
and when it came first time, you didn't ask and it happened.
Yeah.
So
that's
what you will have to do is, when that drops down, okay, so it has arisen, which was not there, now it has dropped, doesn't matter. You go back to your normal, you start again like a fresh ball.
So don't put like when it sort of dropped, I shouldn't put any real thought into that happening and just be like, it is what it is, and then like
It is,
not
yes,
that,
it is,
just
yeah, it is
no
whatever it,
thoughts.
yeah, it is what it is, and then you see where your mindfulness can be, not necessarily breath. There will be something that you may feel. You be mindful of that. Or you
Yeah.
still will have some remnants of that episode, and you just observe that without any expectation of bringing it up or down or making any change. That is
Yeah.
what you have. You simply observe that.
Because I mean, that was like, I think that one on Saturday night was probably the most profound kind of experience I've had so far.
Yeah.
In the sense that like the breathing thing was like, it was like emotion. Like I wasn't trying to do anything, but once I was observing the breath, and then it's sort of like my breath didn't change, but it was like I became part of that breath. And
Yeah.
then the breathing in, breathing out was like, it was like I was like a rhythm. It was like there was a rhythm going. And then when it just dropped, like, to be honest, I was a bit disappointed.
Yeah. So that is because you have identified yourself with it.
Yeah. So that's where I've made the error, Bhante, is it?
Yeah. So it's not a mistake. To come to that point, you have abundant self, whatever stage that you passed. Unless you abandon self in the previous stages, you will not come to this point.
Yeah.
But that self-identity now is taking a stronghold in here. But you have come there. Now what you will have, what you will do is you will build your camp there and then start attacking from there.
Right. Okay. I think I know what
So
you're
this,
saying.
yeah, this is the area now that you have captured. So you will establish in that area.
Yeah. Okay.
So and then whenever your practice drops, it will drop to this achieved level. And from there you start again being mindful and let the factors, if the factors come, let them come. Otherwise
So
don't bother.
So kind of treat this as a baseline now, kind of thing.
Don't try to. Your practice will tell what the baseline is.
Yeah.
And you
Okay.
not compulsory to go to breath. You may have a subtler state, subtler phenomenon. I don't know what it is. So once it drops, you yourself can see where your practice is. And then you start being mindful from there. Without any expectations, I'm repeating.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
if you feel that self-identity is trying to be a part, observe that as well.
Observe that as well. Okay.
Yeah, don't try to get rid of it. If you try to get rid of it, then you are creating friction with it. You are creating ill will towards it.
Yeah. Okay.
It might come, because that is what we have been doing in our existence. So that has a very strong mental base. So it might come. So when it comes, here it comes, you simply be aware.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just put a hand around his neck.
Yeah. Okay.
Then he won't be able to trick you.
Yeah. Thank you, Bhante. I appreciate
No,
that.
it's my pleasure.
You got anything, Alex?
Well, actually,
Yeah. No?
when I was just meditating, like doing walking meditation just before,
I'm not sure if it's real, but may or may not. I think I stepped on a moth, like while I was turning.
You did what? I didn't get you.
Like when I was turning, like
Yeah.
when I do walking meditation and when
Yeah.
I change direction, I turn, right?
Yeah.
And while I was turning, I may or may not, kill the moth. I feel so bad about it.
Kill the moth.
Yeah. May or may not.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. Yep.
Yeah, no, that's okay. That's
to
okay.
explain, to give you further description. Yep. Like when I turn the moth, and when I remove the food, I've seen a moth was like crushed. I could be wrong. Yep.
Yeah.
And yep. And that moment, I was a bit
Upset.
shocked with what I have done. So I was just stationary for like a few seconds.
Yeah.
And, I think it kind of aligns with like Steve's experience with the possum, like that he ran over the other day.
Yeah.
And to explain further about my experience.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. No.
Yep. I walked like one more round, and I've seen the ground, and the moth was gone.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, like, did I really kill the moth?
Yeah.
I don't know, but
yeah. All right. So no, it's a very, very good experience in many ways, right? And the first thing, you are worried that it is that you have killed it, right?
Yeah.
So for a killing to be complete, you should do it intentionally.
Sorry?
You should do it intentionally.
You should do it with intention.
You never had an intention of killing. You were simply walking, and
Yeah.
you accidentally stepped on it.
It's not your fault, basically.
It is not your fault.
Not that it's state.
Therefore, there is nothing for you to worry about.
Like the possum that ran over the road.
Yep.
Like I didn't have the intention to kill
No,
the
you
possum.
didn't.
You didn't have the intention to kill the moth. Therefore, it's not an issue. The moth
Makes
had
sense?
bad karma.
But I feel bad that it just happened in front of the Buddha statue.
Well, it's
Yeah,
good.
yeah. I'm going to come to that. So I'm saying, because your intention was not there, because you didn't do it purposely, it is not harmful to you. But what is harmful to you is now worrying about it. Worrying about something which you have not done is more harmful than actually doing it, because you are carrying that mentality, worrying mentality.
Yep.
Right? So see whether your intention was there. If it was not there, who knows? We can't help. And are you driving?
I do drive.
Yeah. So when you drive, you know how many animals we kill.
Lots.
We kill millions, but we don't do by intentionally. So therefore we are not worried. So long as we don't do it intentionally, Buddha says, don't worry about it. Worrying about is more dangerous than killing.
Yep.
Right? So you can use, and it also having another positive side. Now you worry about it, because now you have moral fear and moral shame. Since you are morally trying to be a good person, your attention is to yourself, and you see even the slightest mistake that you make. So you are very careful now in future. Right? So that's the sign of it. So only thing that you will have to take out from your mind is worrying about it, thinking it is in the temple, thinking it is in front of the Buddha, thinking while I'm meditating this happened and all that, are not relevant, because it's not your mistake. So mind matters most.
Nope.
not
Okay.
what happened. All right, make sense?
Yes, thank you, Bante.
Everyone, Saran. You have anything, Tanuka?
Yes, sorry, Master. Just a few things I want to discuss with like things that have been going on. Regarding, the delusional thoughts I've had, like, feeling powerful compared to like my friends and stuff. There's been a couple of days where like, I mean, I don't really listen to much like music anymore, but like there's been times where like I'll just like pick up my earphones, like plug it in and play a couple of songs and all of a sudden feel this energy, like it's very like superior level and it's like this higher being, like, and I'm definitely like I'm clearly identifying myself with this like high energy and I'm comparing like, and it's pretty much having this like big ego comparing to my friends.
Yeah.
And I get like this amazing like boost out of it, like, and I'll just like get in my car or something on my way to the gym, play a few songs, and all of a sudden I'm feeling like this, like pretty much like this great person. It's hard to explain, like godlike person.
Yeah.
And it's like weird things happen, like I don't usually speed, but I drive really fast. And it feels out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
This high speed that I'm going at, and there's like a sense of like, back then I'll be scared of like getting caught by cops or something.
Yeah.
But now like all those fears are like gone. Like I'm so certain that there's no cops around.
Yeah.
And there's like a certain thrill I chase out of it.
Yeah.
And and it feels very unlike me. Like it feels like someone else is driving it.
Yeah.
But it feels really good. It doesn't feel normal. It feels very supernatural.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I think my practice has been going well. And I think this morning I was like doing walking meditation, and my dad was in his office and my sister was in her room. And at the start I was aware that these two people were in their rooms, and like the carpet was just like going right next to their rooms, like right by their office and sister's bedroom. And I was walking, and all of a sudden I've had this feeling before, like it gets really dark, and I start feeling like I'm just there by myself. So like I lose the sense of anyone else being around. So my dad, my sister, I think my brother was home as well, but most of my dad and my sister, like I completely lost the sense of that. And it was just really dark at the time. And I had experienced this before, but I found it very unpleasant at the time, like when I used to experience it. So I'll try to push myself through it, but this time I was a bit more mindful. So I was very mindful of what was happening. So I just kept doing the walking meditation, and all of a sudden my dad and my sister, they started feeling like strangers. So I started feeling like I was in a house with two strangers in their rooms. But I just kept walking. And then I went into my room to do the seated meditation, and I felt complete disconnection from everything.
Yeah.
So like complete disconnection, as in like, I was literally just by myself in the world. Sat with that, and then later on during the day, I think I remember telling Swami Master about the panic attacks I've had like last week.
Yeah.
And so similar panic attacks started happening where I think these were starting to manifest into reality. So like I couldn't, like there was a time, I think like a couple of hours, like even like half an hour after the meditation, I think, I just wanted to go watch TV and I couldn't do that. Like I started feeling panic about it. About going into the living room.
Yeah.
So I closed my room, sat down, stayed with the panic. It was something I've been doing for like a few weeks now.
Yeah.
I would just like in the afternoon, like in the evening ish, I'll just go to the living room and watch like a show or something, and I couldn't do that. So and I just started panicking about that. So I came into my room, sat down with it, and I've been going for like walks during my evenings.
Yeah.
for like last few weeks.
Yeah.
I literally went to grab my shoes and I just started panicking again.
Yeah.
So I couldn't do that, sat down. But instead of that, like something else started happening. So, you know, like dad was sitting in the living room watching TV. Instead, like I pretty much just grabbed like a juice, like a drink out of the fridge, and I
Yeah.
just went and sat and talked with him.
Mm.
And so just talked with him about the practice and like what I've been experiencing and stuff. So but yeah, so that like yeah, it was like a weird exchange. Like instead of going for the walk, I like sat down with him and talked. But I think yeah, that's about it. Apart from that, I think like literally for the whole day today, I like just tried to seclude myself from like I started feeling a lot secluded from the family. And I like all I did was just sit down and like just sat with it. But yeah, that's about it so far.
Right.
Yeah, it was a lot to take. Sorry.
No, that's okay. When you said that your dad and the sister was able to understand that you are changing, how did you decide that?
Sorry, what was that again? Sorry.
Now, you said when you went to that dark state,
Yeah.
and you had some changes, and you felt that you were feeling all alone in the house or in the world.
Yeah.
When that scenario is unfolding, you said your sister and your dad came out and checked what's going on. Did you
Oh
say
no,
something?
they didn't. No, they didn't check anything. No, they were just walking around. Yeah, they were just walking around the house, and they just started feeling like strangers.
They were started feeling your changes.
No. They started to feel like they are strangers.
You started feeling that they are strangers, or?
Yeah. That's what I meant.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. They didn't see any changes. No.
Okay. So that's good. So that's really natural, because when you bring your attention completely to yourself, what happens is when you're with you, anything else is not with you. Anything else is not you. So you feel them strange because you are so much into you. You were saying about going into dark state, and why you go into dark state is because when you bring the attention to you, you completely come out of your greed and hatred. When you completely come out of your greed and hatred, the delusion is opening up. More you come out of greed, more you come out of hatred. The only thing that is left is the foundation on which the greed and hatred was thriving. So you are starting see this foundation. That foundation is delusion. Delusion means something that we have never perceived. So only way you perceive delusion is complete darkness. So, but even in this darkness, you said you were trying to be mindful and you were able to be mindful of it. So long as you are not panicking about it, and you can be mindful of it. And since you can be mindful of it, only this sort of darkness will come. Not that it has to happen to each and everybody, but it may happen to some people. So at this stage, your sensitivity is super high. So you feel very heightened physical process, very heightened mental process. That is why you feel that you are supernatural. And when you feel those things, you should very actively, I am repeating, label that situation as aware. Otherwise,
So you mean like when it happens?
When it happens.
Yeah.
Not when the darkness happens, when you feel that supernatural feel, right? You feel that you can handle the entire world.
Mm.
So much strength you will see, and it is very intense happening. So therefore, speed is nothing for you, right?
Mm.
So
Yeah.
what that happens, and you yourself mentioned that happens when you identify yourself with this achievement.
Mm. Yeah, I have been doing that. Yeah.
So the way out of it is to bring mindfulness to that, and to bring mindfulness to that, you will have to energize yourself to bring mindfulness, and that energy comes from active labeling of the situation you are in.
Mm.
So don't take the car and go out. Don't do anything funny when you feel it. Just sit in a place, or do whatever you are doing and label very actively aware. Keep the attention to that heightened physical and mental process, and
Yeah.
keep labeling very calmly aware, aware, aware.
Yeah.
And keep doing that whenever it arises. And don't try to take the car and go out and identify yourself with it.
Mm.
Taking the car and going out means you identify yourself with that. That's
Yeah.
not a good thing, because
Mm.
the rest of the world has not tapped that speed, tapped that velocity.
Mm.
So it might harm a lot of people.
It might harm what? Sorry, sir?
It might harm a lot of people.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So because other people don't know,
Mm.
because this once happened to me when I was driving on a highway. I brought the attention to my body, and then it was, all full blown. And without my knowledge, I have been driving at 150, and I was shouting at the driver in front of me, saying that this buggy is not driving. To see,
Mm.
is driving at the right speed, but my physical process is so intense. I don't feel the speed outside.
Mm.
So I get synchronized with my physical speed while driving, and that is horribly dangerous.
Yeah. It's not something I like do it on purpose. Like, it like, so it happened when I was like going to the gym yesterday.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't necessarily take the car. Oh, like I'm gonna do it now. It comes out of nowhere. Like when I'm driving, and yeah, something else comes up. Yeah.
That makes very much sense, because your practice has developed to a stage where whenever your attention becomes focused to something, this energy arises.
Yeah.
So you must have developed the habit of labeling it straight away, especially depending on what you are doing. Right? So then
Yeah.
you will not let it overrun the surrounding what you call energies, because this energy is very very rare and very powerful energy, which you should not go and try outside.
Mm.
And therefore we will have to, we cannot get overpowered by that energy as well. So to take things under control, when it is there, you be with that, and instead of identifying yourself with it, you straight away start labeling it.
Mm.
So it can happen anytime.
So like, when it happens, should I just let it happen and be mindful of it? Or
No, while driving, if it happens straight away, label it, or straight away
Yeah.
break it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if it is not something that serious, say for example, while walking it happens, and let it happen, you quietly label it. While in the gym, when you are doing it, let it happen, you quietly label it. So decide the scenario, whether you are labeling it or breaking.
Mm.
Yeah. And you were mentioning about panic attacks.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit more about it? Because panic is a general term. Can you explain one or two scenarios?
I think the panic's been more regarding being stuck in the. I think this was always regarding being stuck in the Rupa world, like, and the Karma Loka.
Mhm.
It's and that panics I've had has always been regarding, or I'm never gonna be able to come back from, because I was always the things that were happening, like the things I said about, the music making me feel powerful compared to people, and like the driving and stuff. There was always like the craving for those things.
Mhm.
So because of that, I was always like panicking. Oh my god, like I need to get back to the like normal world. Like I need to I need to get back on Buddha's track, and
Okay.
the right path and all that.
Right. So you become sort of confused with
Yeah, pretty much.
what you are doing and what you actually are.
Yeah, and like where it's going and stuff.
And you mentioned that when you were taking something from the living room, or when you're taking your shoes or something, you got panic.
Oh yeah, that happened because I was like, yeah. So I would go on a walk, and today I couldn't do it because I panicked, and yeah, for some reason I panicked about it.
Yeah. So
And
can you explain me that?
I think it's usually been that panic's been regarding it's kind of like hard to explain, but I've kind of been trying. I think it goes on a deeper layer where I would like try to show my dad that I'm trying to get my stuff together.
Mhm.
So like sometimes I would like I think it happens on a deeper layer where like kind of like an entanglement with my dad as well. Like so that I think the panic it's hard to explain.
Yeah. So
So
in other words, still there are certain things in the from these two scenarios. What I gather is that still there are certain things in the normal world that
yeah,
your mind is trying to be part of,
pretty much. Yeah, I'm
but
always trying to like yeah
but the other part of you is not allowing that to happen,
yeah pretty
and
much.
you get sandwiched in between the two.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even here, the safest way is when you see this panic situation, label that you are panic.
Mm.
Don't be panic about the panic.
Mm.
Creating panic situation is the job of our mind,
Yeah.
and it has been creating this all the time, and we have been entire humankind is panic.
Mm. Yeah.
Now you have the skill to see your own panic.
Mm.
Others are simply panic, and then they don't know that they are panic.
Mm.
So when we see that this thing, and if we don't have the right view, in the sense that we will have to simply be aware of the present moment, that's the right way.
Mm.
Then you get panic about the panic. So instead, what has happened is you are seeing your own defilement.
Mm.
When you see that, simply accept that it is a defilement. So you
Yeah.
simply label it as either aware, or you call it by its own name. I am panic. I am
Mm.
panic. If you are emotional, you label it as I am emotional. I am emotional.
Mm.
And because these things are happening at such a fast rate, faster than the speed of the light, we don't know what to do.
Mm.
Mindfulness runs out of the window.
Yeah.
Right. So from these discussions, what only thing I do is I simply pinch you and tell, darling, you have got to be mindful. To be mindful, start labeling.
Mm.
So just keep that in mind. So don't worry about being panicked, then it
Yeah.
increases more. Challenge it, okay. Make me panic if possible. Not that you really ask for it,
Yeah.
but don't be afraid of it. If it comes,
Yeah.
straight away label.
Yeah.
Right. So then things will fall into line by the blessings of the Buddha.
Yeah.
And the Dhamma. And the Sangha.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything
Sarana,
else?
Sarana.
Theruvan Saranai. All right. So since we don't have anything else, we can go for chanting. We can. Last week, I think, did Tanuka do it?
Yep.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
can I request Forest Lake Temple gentlemen to do it, please?
Yep. Do you want to do it, Alex?
Yep. Read this one, right?
Yeah. Read that.
The may all devas share this merit, which we have thus accumulated for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness and prosperity. May all other beings share this merit, which we have thus accumulated for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness and prosperity. May all the beings share this merit, which we have thus accumulated for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness and prosperity. May all beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, having shared this merit, long protect the dispensation. May all beings inhabiting scenes, space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, having shared this merit, long protect the teaching. May all beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, having shared this merit, long protect me and others. If by deed, speech, or thought, heedlessly I have done any wrong, forgive, O Master, O Victor, greatly wise. If by deed, speech, or thought, heedlessly I have done any wrong, forgive, O Dharma, to be seen here now and timeless. If by deed, speech, or thought, heedlessly I have done any wrong, forgive, O Sangha, practice well the incomparable. Let this merit occur
To our departed relatives
and may they be happy. Let this merit occur to our departed relatives and may they be happy. Let this merit occur to our departed relatives and may they be happy. By the grace of this merit that I have acquired, may I never follow the foolish, but only the wise of the time attain Nibbana. By the grace of this merit that I have acquired, may I never follow the foolish, but only the wise of the time attain Nibbana. By the grace of this merit that I have acquired, may I never follow the foolish, but only the wise of the time attain Nibbana.
Sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you so much, Bhante.
Theruvan Saranai.
Sarana, Sarana.
Theruvan Saranai. Theruvan Saranai. All right, I'm concluding here.
Okay, thank
Yep,
you, Bhante.
thanks.
Theruvan
Thank you.
Saranai. Pani, you can end the session. Theruvan Saranai.
Yeah, one second.